What's up, guys? How we doing? We're early. Surprise, surprise. People didn't think this would be possible, but 1 minute prior to start, the original start time, there you go.
Might be a record right there.
I'm telling you, we're a little bit more explosive than the Kevin Patullo offense. I shouldn't go there, though, because we are going to talk about the offense, and I know there's already some comments I'm seeing in the stream, but shout out to you guys, as always. It's fun to see you guys in the chat. Corey, what's up? It's been a little bit. Also, I think happy birthday to Clayton. Clayton, is your birthday? Let's go.
Happy birthday.
Hopefully it's been a good one. But yes, all sorts of stuff to get into. Also, shout out to one of the official sponsors of the channel, Underdog, as always. Scan the QR code, use code Philly Special. Get $50 in bonus bets when you use $5. They got all sorts of new, exciting offerings this season that they did not last year. So feel free to do that. Take part in the best ball drafts. Unfortunately, Anthony and I, we didn't hit those bets last week, and we could start wherever, but it was John Dotson's fault. Or, Kevin Patullo. It's the offense in general. They weren't firing on all cylinders. You're not going to hit very many over bets whenever the offense has, 216 total yards. So, for whatever the reason, at the moment now I'm kind of like, do you take the over on Eagles offensive players, or do you kind of ride it out and wait and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, we both thought it was going to be a little bit more explosive of a game than it obviously ended up being. But, I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, they got the win. That's what really matters. Obviously, it wasn't the prettiest win. The stats were ugly. Jalen Hurts, the only quarterback that's played in 2 games that has less passing yards than Jalen Hurts, I believe, is Justin Fields. So not great company that he's in right now. Obviously, you want to see him putting up bigger numbers, but I also don't think it's as big of a problem as many people are making it out to be.
And I will say, if I'm not mistaken, I think, is it just Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones, the only two that have not turned the football over? I know that passing yards are not great, but I believe it's just 2 quarterbacks that have not turned the football over. Or did I see some other random stat that's not correct about that?
I thought I saw that there was like 5 other teams that had played 2 games before last night's games
that would seem to reason
that didn't turn the ball over yet. It was like, but all of the teams basically except the Commanders were 2-0. So it was like Eagles.
Colts, that's what I
Packers,
saw. Okay, yeah, all but the Commanders. Okay,
some Bills, I believe. So, yeah, I mean that's. I know people are like upset that there's not these big deep shots and Jalen Hurts putting up 300 yards of passing offense, but at the same time he's not turning the ball over. So, like if you look at the start of last season, they were obviously pushing the ball down the field. There were more explosive plays, more explosive runs, but he also had 3 interceptions and I believe a lost fumble. So, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. Like I said, it's not the prettiest, but it's effective and they're winning.
Yes, that they are. Let's see. Some people said Anthony did hit the first touchdown. I think you took Jalen Hurts.
I did.
And I took AJ. So I don't think either of us did, unfortunately. I had Jalen Hurts for the week 1, but
I should have went with the chalkiest pick, which would have been Saquon Barkley, but I went with a little chalk with
figure,
Jalen Hurts, and it still didn't win. So.
It still didn't win. We'll get on a roll one of these weeks. Shout out to Shaq with the 2. Appreciate that. Super chat here says slow start last year too, but still slight concern. That's a fair point. And we'll go positives and negatives on this thing. So I'm sure we'll bounce around. Feel free to let us know your thoughts in the comment section, everything else. Let's maybe start out on the optimistic viewpoint because, as we say, the Eagles are 2-0. The Eagles, it goes both ways, right? Because I could just talk myself into this and say, well, Jalen Hurts, and I think I said this in the last video, but it's like Jalen Hurts has the same amount of passing touchdowns as the Indianapolis Colts have punts this year. And it's amazing that both of those are 0. Like, that's kind of crazy that they're both a 0 for different reasons. But ultimately, the Eagles are 2-0, and they're not playing their best football. Like, in a way, it's frustrating, but in another way, it's positive because there's so much more that they could do, that they will do, that I think, you and I definitely believe that they will find and hit their stride eventually. But ultimately, from the Chiefs game, and you had some great write-ups. If people have not already, make sure to go check it out. Anthony at Baun NFL or the PhillySpecialShow.com for the articles there. But positives, just some good energy, some good takeaways from the game on Sunday.
So the biggest thing, and I keep thinking about this when people say like, oh, Kevin Patullo is the next Brian Johnson. Like this is 2023 all over again.
The number of
There's
times I've heard
one
that.
massive difference, and it has nothing to do with the offense. It's the fact that Vic Fangio is running the defense, and they are just loaded on that side of the ball. Because literally last season with Kellen Moore, who everybody thinks was this perfect offense coordinator that Jalen Hurts put up these gaudy stats with, they went through plenty of lulls with Kellen Moore as well. It's not like Jalen Hurts was putting up these crazy numbers, right? But they kept winning games because the defense was so damn good. And I mean, against the Chiefs, especially the defensive front. I mean, Jordan Davis, people were worried after he played so many snaps in week 1. How would he look in week 2? He looked great. Moro Ojomo looked great with Jalen Carter. With Jalen Carter back, kind of took some of that pressure off of him. Obviously, our guys Nolan Smith and Jalyx Hunt held the edge. They did very, very well as well. Jihaad Campbell, Zack Baun, I feel like I don't even have to mention them, but they're just one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL already. And then probably the biggest surprise, because he was literally signed off the street basically, is Adoree Smith. I mean, there was like, is he going to need that ramp up period? Vic Fangio said it himself today, where he was like, you have those concerns. Like, is the guy going to take some time? He played 20 snaps, made a ton of plays. It's not like it was just holding the edge and not getting any stats. He had a tackle for loss. He was in on a sack. Like, he was making plays. So, I mean, that's probably my biggest takeaway, just how good the defensive front looked, because in the past, it was Jalen Hurts was the one that was kind of struggling with the blitz, and they didn't have answers, and he was taking sacks or throwing interceptions. Like, it got a little messy. But meanwhile, it looked like Jalen Hurts was like poised and under pressure. I mean, like cool, calm, and collected when he was under pressure with the blitz. And Patrick Mahomes was the one that looked a little frazzled and was airmailing throws or throwing it out of bounds or just looking a little sloppy. So it was kind of interesting to see that like the contrast between the two of them. But that was probably my biggest takeaway on a positive side.
I like that. Yes, for sure. The Vic Fangio element, that's what we can hang our hat on. And I know that's sure we can get into the offense. We'll talk about that. I'm glad that they say the difference between Kevin Patullo and Brian Johnson. Go figure. It doesn't take but one more super chat. The two from Dino, I believe, with the Patullo equals Johnson question mark. That's and I said this too. Like during the live stream, also during the most recent video, but certainly during the live stream, there had to have been 100 comments of, here we go. It's 2023. It's Brian Johnson's offense all over again, / Nick Sirianni. Who's running this thing? It looks very reminiscent. And sure, there's a lot of stagnant. The offense doesn't look great. It's vanilla. Lots of the route running is not, what are they doing out there? Yes, you can watch the all 22 film and see sometimes for routes and go, not the best thing, kind of predictable. You look at the percentages of when they are lined up under center, when they're lined up in pistol, when they're lined up in shotgun, and how much they run or don't run in those instances. Yeah, there's some tendencies. I think and believe that they're going to get this thing figured out, though. And I don't know. There's an element to it also that people are bringing up, and I've seen these comments made as well of like, okay, but why is the passing game struggling? Because Kevin Patullo was the passing game coordinator, right? So if anything, shouldn't the passing game be better? But they're taking what the defense gives them so far, and it's like the fine line that they're choosing to walk. And it goes for Jalen too, but it's the fine line of we're going to take a couple shots, but we're going to take care of the football. And I think that it's almost amplified because of one of the many reasons, but one of the reasons that you mentioned there is Vic Fangio and this defense. When you have that good of a defense, like I hate it too at times, I will totally agree. But when it's 3rd and 16 and it's a handoff, it's a draw, you're like, that's a forfeit. Because it is. It is literally a forfeit. No one's running a draw on 3rd and 16 going, hey, we might pick up first down. It is a forfeit to then punt the football. But like it or not, this team and this makeup that we have with the defense, and I mean, my gosh, you did the write-up on Braden Mann, but the cannon of the leg that he has and the weapon that he has turned into for the punt games, you know what? Yeah, it may not have been this way previously, but since Vic Fangio and since this defense has turned a corner, you feel good about if you're playing the field position game. And if you say, you know what, we're going to live to fight another day. It's not worth it to risk the possibility of trying to take a deep shot for 25 yards and then turn the football over. Instead, we're going to punt it, trust our defense, and most of the time they have rewarded you, especially they turned a corner and played better even against Kansas City. See what they do against the Rams this coming week. But that's where they're choosing to go right now. They still can get better, but I hear people like, okay, it's the Brian Johnson comparison. I saw the number of comments as well being like, but Kellen Moore's offense has never struggled like this for the early parts. Like, they did. I know they didn't have the same weapons, so that's kind of the caveat there, right? Because you saw the Packers game, but then AJ Brown was injured for 3 games. Smitty got injured. Dallas Goedert got injured. So like there wasn't the full complement. But in Kevin Patullo's defense, he's already gone 2 games, and out of one of those, he hasn't had Dallas Goedert. He hasn't had one of the weapons out there, and I think that DG gets maybe undervalued at times. I think people just go like, yeah, Dallas Goedert's good, but like you'll be fine. You'll be fine because you have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and they still will be fine. But I think that there's a lot of what Dallas Goedert does. Like, for example, had he been on the play on that very first play of the game, AJ Brown would have scored. That's 6 points. AJ Brown touchdown. Hey, we're back. Offense is firing on all. We're taking shots and everything else. Unfortunately, it's Grant Calcaterra, and it results in a fumble and loss of yardage, and you just forget the shot play.
Yeah, I'll save my Grant Calcaterra rant for when we get into the negatives. But as far as the offense goes, I do kind of wonder if Steve Spagnuolo's like strategy and approach had a lot to do with the fact that both Dallas Goedert and Will Shipley weren't there, because there were, if you just look at how they were utilized in week 1, Will Shipley had that big play on like that swing pass, screen pass, whatever you want to call it. And then Dallas Goedert had a ton of targets across the middle of the field where they literally didn't have one target in the middle of the field in week 2. So missing those 2 players was huge. And I think that's a big reason why Spags kind of drastically changed his strategy from the Super Bowl, where he didn't blitz at all, essentially. And then he blitzed Jalen Hurts on 16 of 25 dropbacks. And once again, this goes back to that 2023 Brian Johnson kind of approach where people are comparing it to. Jalen Hurts flat out sucked against the blitz that year. That was a huge problem with the offense. Either they weren't getting any completions or he was turning the ball over. They aren't getting explosive plays off of it. I mean, they got the one pass to Devontae Smith, but he's not turning the ball over. And like you mentioned, with the defense playing as good as it is, I know it's boring. I know it sucks for those give up draw runs on 3rd down or Nick Sirianni punting from the middle of the field. But when you're able to have Braden Mann pin them at the 9-yard line or have the defense just force a 3 and out, like you have to kind of change your approach on offense too, where you can't just, AJ Brown's down there, chuck it deep to him and see what happens. Like you kind of want to avoid those negative plays, and it's conservative, it's boring, but it's effective and it wins. And kind of to the effect of people saying like this didn't happen last year, I wrote down a ton of numbers. I don't know if you want me to get into them, but Jalen Hurts over the first 2 weeks, he was 34 of 45, 75% completion percentage, which is obviously very good, for just 253 yards, 5.62 yards per attempt. Obviously not a very good yards per attempt. But literally last year, under Kellen Moore, weeks 13 and 14, so this wasn't the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. This is against the Ravens and the Panthers. He was 25 of 40, 62.5% completion percentage for just 226 yards, 5.65 yards per attempt. So this literally happened under Kellen Moore. And not like he threw for 118 yards or less in 3 regular season games under Kellen Moore that he played, that he started and finished. And then AJ Brown in their first 2 playoff games last year against the Packers, he had 1 reception for 10 yards on 3 targets. Against the Rams, 2 receptions for 14 yards on 7 targets. AJ Brown has been shut down before. He has put up these awful stats before. This is not something new that's just exclusive to Kevin Patullo. These struggles happened under Kellen Moore too. So give it time. It's only 2 games into the season. Everybody relax.
There we go. As Muhammad says too, and both can be accurate at the same time. Like, just need better route tree, need a little bit better routes against the blitz or whatever. But as you're saying there, Jalen is making the right decisions. There's maybe not the greatest options at times, but he's making the right decisions. He's not turning over the football. The Eagles' offense is doing enough, and they will continue to get better on that. And by the way, speaking of numbers here, I try to as best I can, but you guys don't. I'm not perfect, but I did see this comment too from Frank. Frank, I apologize. I did not give you a shout out on your birthday last week. I must have totally missed that comment. But last week on the 9th, apparently, it was your birthday. So happy, very belated birthday. But happy birthday, Frank. Hope it was a great one. As much as, like I say, as much as I see it, I will try to do my best. But, unfortunately, I'm not perfect and don't see those all the time. Richard with a 5 bomb. Appreciate that. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. Go Birds. It doesn't have to be. It's early in the season. Very few teams, let's say this, very, very few teams are hitting their stride. And if they are hitting their stride right now, there might be a little bit of a concern. Not that it can't be kept up, but like if you're the Green Bay Packers, I very much expected them to be in the playoffs. It would not surprise me if they make it all the way to the NFC Championship game. But it's a long season. And so will they be playing like this and just blowing out teams every single week as they've done to their first 2 weeks? Probably not. There's going to be an instance where they have a little bit of difficulty. Every team goes through that. Not to say that, sure, yeah, it'd be cool, it'd be fun if you just all of a sudden week one you hit the ground running and the Eagles blew out the Cowboys by 30, and they go on and move through the next 4 or 5 weeks and they blow out every single team by 20 or 30 points. Yeah, but it's just not happened so far. There's been some changes, some turnover, getting some guys involved. They're figuring out, and heck, the players have said this too, along with Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni and others, but they're figuring out the identity of this team. There's a difference. There's a lot of the same players, but there's still a difference. There's differences in play calling. And once they kind of get into, I feel like, the same instances last year, week 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there, then we'll go, all right, like this is what we can expect. And it should hopefully build on itself. And, they'll kind of figure out the tendencies and all the other elements that go in play there. Because you got to remember, Kevin Patullo, is, I think, as far as like the scripted part of it, is not a huge difference, right? Because he was the passing game coordinator. He was a part of that. He was a piece even from last year with Kellen Moore and before that even. But it's different when, the bullets start flying and it's like, okay, hey, now we need to kind of react based on what the defense is doing. He's still learning himself within the play calling. But I'm not ready to just punt on this and go, we had some comments during the stream, during the game, and fire Kevin Patullo. This is ridiculous. Come on now. Like, he's a game and a half into it, and we're already like, I understand. There's frustrations. Absolutely. He is far from perfect, and there's too many weapons to say this should keep happening. A.J. Brown is way too good to have less than 50 yards receiving through 2 games. Everyone understands that, but they've won 2 games. So it's like, that's the glass half full, I suppose, and I do understand the way that people want to look at it from both sides, but I'm not punting on it. I'm not trading A.J. Brown in my fantasy league. We're definitely not trading him to another team for all the other rumors that people want to go, oh, the teams are calling the Eagles about A.J. Brown and Howie Roseman saying absolutely not. It's like, duh, that's so obvious. But, the fact that it even gets reported is like, hey, this is an update here. It's like, come on. Elbert with a 5, by the way, gets a couple of these super chats. Appreciate that. Going into the season, we were worried about the defense. No, we're not worried about the defense now. The offense will be just finer. Everyone have patience and faith. I think it's just fine. Maybe a little typo there, but just fine. Everyone have patience and faith. I'm right there with you. I agree. Fanny with a 2 also. My baby Eaglet, girl Jordan, turns 13 tomorrow. Well, happy early birthday to Jordan.
Happy early birthday, Jordan.
Also, Jamar, my cousin, Jamar Davis. Not actually, but yeah, we're cousins. Member for 13 months. Our route tree is horrible, though, like a D3 school.
Yes. I mean, that's been like the easy criticism, right? It's just like A.J. Brown's only lining up on the outside of the numbers and he's running these in-breaking slant routes and there's like no variety. And I get it. It's really boring. I still think no matter what they're saying, I don't think he's 100%. I think there might be a little bit limiting to him. And obviously they're not going to like publicize that. But I think, like I said, I think just there's like, this is a long game, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we saw them struggle throughout the season last year. And even in the playoffs, they didn't necessarily hit their stride on offense. I mean, the running game was phenomenal, but the passing offense, basically, like until the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, that's where it really took off. But before then,
totally, yeah,
it felt like every week we were like, can this really be sustainable? And then next thing you know, they literally win the Super Bowl. So it's like, it's kind of hard to question all of this, especially so early in the season where even going back to Kellen Moore, there was that cut up of when he was with the Cowboys, where he was at that coaching clinic and he was talking about how throughout the season they would always use certain looks, give the defense these certain plays off of it, and then like establish this tendency, right? Because in order to break a tendency, you have to have a tendency, right? So if now the Eagles are almost always running out of pistol formation, or if they're almost always running out of this look, teams are obviously going to take note of that, right? But then in that high leverage situation, then the Eagles can take advantage of that. And Fran Duffy actually wrote about it. He said he spoke to, he didn't say specifically who, but a coach in the league or whatever. And the coach said that pretty much we like teams thinking that we're going to do this when we line up like this. So this could just be Kevin Patullo like playing the long game, right? Where like maybe against the Rams, he said it during his press conference. He was like, maybe we'll break those tendencies this week. So you kind of want to keep the teams on their toes. Like right when they think they know exactly what you're going to do, it's like, oh, a shot over your head to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith off a play action on a play that you normally ran out of 95% of the time. So I know it's easy to say, fire this guy. At this time last season, everybody wanted Nick Sirianni fired, right? It was just like, or 4 weeks into the season, whatever it was. So
Yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
easy to fire these guys within the first 4 weeks or a month of the season. Like, we really, especially after last season, we need to give it some time.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was working on a video, probably coming out tomorrow, but I used the same clip and the same talking point for Kellen Moore when he was talking about the clinic because, as you said there, it's the setting up with the same sort of alignment, the same sort of formation to then run a different play where it totally tricks the defense. You know, they're assuming now this is the percentages of like, okay, hey, in the pistol, whatever it was, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I had it a second ago, but it's, you know, in the pistol, they're going to run 95% of the time, or whatever the number is, right? And the under center is going to be 93% of the time run. It probably needs to be a little less than that, you know, a little bit more creativity from that element. But if the teams are going in, opposing teams that is, and they see it and they're going, oh, well, like, yeah, if they're running this formation, they're absolutely, we're going to get a run. You know, then it's like, all right, hey, you play a little play action. It would be nice. I'm with those that, you know, say, hey, could we get some play action? Maybe a little RPO, a little bit more motion. There was a couple. We didn't have much. We had a couple plays with motion, and the ones that they did seem to run that worked to at least a little better than not. But at the end of the day, I'm with you that they're going to get things figured out. I pulled up Devontae Smith's routes from the game, and I understand, too, that there's some frustrations on those of going like, what on earth is that? Because there's not a whole lot of creativity in those routes. That's maybe 2 different routes. It's hard to tell what those exactly are, but maybe, I mean, at most 3, but it's like a couple outs and some fade routes, maybe. You know, like at least 2 of those that I can think of though are blitz beaters. It was 0 blitz. So there's not a whole lot of creativity on those routes. Usually, and we know this, but usually the case is if Jalen gets a 0 blitz, he is looking to one receiver, and it's usually Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, and it's go. It's run a go because it's going to be one-on-one, and we're going to take our chances. And it worked with Devontae Smith, as we've seen. It has worked in the past with A.J. Brown. So 2 of those, I could say, all right, there's 0 blitz. The other ones, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, yes, it's incredibly basic, right? But it still comes with a territory of like, look, this is just one game. And as you said, Anthony, to start this thing out, it's one game that the Eagles were getting blitzed 64% of the time. So of course there's not going to be the timing of these like double move routes or stuff, you know, that has more time to develop, because most of the time it was Jalen having to drop back, being poised, but then getting rid of it a little quicker than we would see him normally, because he's not taking those shots and he doesn't have, you know, 4 guys rushing him. It was 6 or 7 guys almost the entire game that were coming.
Yeah, and this feels like the perfect time to just talk about that very first play of the game where they literally dialed up a play action deep shot to A.J. Brown that would have been a touchdown if Grant Calcaterra could do anything as a blocker. I mean, I've tried to be nice and then give him extra years. I mean, he was an older prospect coming out of the draft. That was like the thing coming out is just like, he's an older guy. He might just be like, he is what he is. He's a decent receiver, limited upside because of his age, but like a non-factor as a blocker. And he literally hasn't gotten any better. It's come to the point where he has 2 targets in 2 games, right? Where he was the starter for one of the games, and he can't block. Like, you literally cannot ask him to block anybody and think that he's going to win
sad.
and like have any confidence. So in my opinion, he should not see the field. Like, he doesn't do anything on special teams. He doesn't do anything as a pass catcher, and he can't block. Like, why is he out there? To me, until Dallas Goedert is ready, it should just be Kylan Granson, Cameron Latu, and you just never use a 3rd tight end. Just make him inactive, cut him. I don't care. Like, I know this might be a little bit critical, but I mean, you're in year 4 now, and you cannot block anybody. And you literally ruined a guaranteed touchdown because you couldn't block.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, like Kylan Granson, he wasn't supposed to block that guy. He kind of just sprinted out there.
He was doing his best to get out there.
Like,
somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Grant Calcaterra couldn't even get basically any hands on the guy to slow him down. So, I mean, people are like, oh, you didn't know his responsibility. He's supposed to sell the run. Like, no, you're supposed to take that hot defender that's coming that Jalen Hurts might not have picked up on and take him out. And it's not like it was a cornerback, I believe, or a safety. It's not like it was some big hulking defensive end. Like, he should be able to defeat that guy in a one-on-one blocking situation. So there goes my Grant Calcaterra rant. He's unplayable, should not be on the field. And this is another reason why the Eagles should have did something else at tight end, but unfortunately they didn't.
I was trying to find that play, by the way. So there it is for people that have not seen it. I mean, everyone has pretty much seen it by now, but yeah, you had it. You had the deep shot, and I don't even know what that is. Like that's the biggest, one of the biggest whiffs. I will say, Anthony, because you're saying you don't know exactly what Grant Calcaterra does. The one thing that he is incredibly good at, he has a nose for the football on fumbles. He
Phenomenal
did that.
fumble recovery or whatever.
He may have 0 on the box score, but he has come up with a clutch fumble recovery, as
That's
he did
fair.
last year against Washington in Philly, and then as he did, although he created the problem. So, like, it's kind of like, it was your mistake to begin with. So it doesn't really get the credit of like, hey, good job, Grant. You recovered the fumble. It would be an interesting, and as you see in some of the other comments too, of like, tired of Grant Calcaterra. Some people saying that maybe a bit too far of Grant Calcaterra, but if there's an element of it here too that's interesting, where people would go in this direction. Who's the more criticized player? Is it Grant Calcaterra at this point or Brett Toth? I mean, Brett doesn't see the field as much as Calcaterra, so that's maybe a giveaway, I guess, in that sense. But who would people say? I mean, because it feels like both are in a similar instance, right? If you were to ask, like, Nick Sirianni got that meme or that movie clip quite a bit of like, what do you do here? Like, what would you say you do here? Yeah, for Grant Calcaterra, what would you say you do here?
I mean,
You can't block.
Yeah, I mean, this week I feel like he's kind of been under criticism a lot more. I feel like before this, you never really heard anything about Grant Calcaterra. It was like, oh, the Eagles should add another tight end because Dallas Goedert can't stay healthy. Grant Calcaterra is like, he is what he is. He's not necessarily like a starter, but he can kind of give you some spot snaps if Goddard's out. But I mean, I see some people typing that like at least like Calcaterra is available, which I get, I understand. But my like stance on the tight end position as a whole has been very clear in the year or two that I've been appearing on this show and talking to you. So
yes,
I've said for a while that they needed to make an upgrade at tight end and kind of make a legitimate push to address it somehow, and not with these kind of fringe free agents. Or they didn't even add an undrafted free agent this year. They just like, whatever, we'll just see what happens with these like Kylan Grants and Harrison Bryant. And sure enough, Harrison Bryant had a key block on Nick Chubb's touchdown run for the Texans last night. So that certainly didn't help Grant Calcaterra's case.
I knew what you were doing there with the
it was just, I mean,
call out.
Maybe I went a little bit too far, but when your starting tight end, Dallas Goedert, is so injury prone, you need to have a better replacement. And especially with how good of a blocker Dallas Goedert is, you can't have this much of a drop off where you basically can't run the same offense because your tight end can't block. And I feel like that's setting the bar so low. You're not asking him to grab 5 receptions for 50 yards and do that for Dallas Goedert. You just need him to be a capable blocker. And I feel like they're really not asking much from him, and he still can't do it.
It is frustrating, especially, we talk about like, look, the offense, they're still finding their identity. I think it was AJ Brown actually who was mentioned in the press conference afterward of being like, hey, we don't have our DNA, or it's a different DNA for this offense. It's like, but when we know that it's still going to be predicated on a run first team, yeah, you need, and we're down a fullback. Like we lost Ben Van Sumeren for the year. Now Cameron Latu, hey, he deserves some credit. He made a vicious block. He made a couple blocks, but a vicious block in one on Charles Omenihu. But when that's the case, and as you said there, Dallas Goedert being injured so much, you got to have some blockers. Like the one thing that we could say about Jack Stoll, at least whenever he was here, was he's not going to get the ball thrown his way. That's a blatant, obvious part, but that was fine, right? Because it's like, if it's going to be that way to begin with, and it's just telegraphed, at least be able to block. At least be able to perform in that instance, to just hold up and be average. But yeah, so far what we've seen, the number of times, whether it is a pass play from Jalen Hurts and trying to score a touchdown there, because that's a potential 7-point swing, or you get run plays of, you go back and watch the tape of like Saquon Barkley either trying to hit a hole or a crease outside, but lo and behold, Grant Calcaterra trying to just hold up for like half a second to give Saquon time, because it's just not going to happen. And again, I think that would also still go back to, or it's in the same line of thinking too, of like Dallas Goedert is even more heavily missed because of that. Like we recognize bits and pieces of it, but it's his catching ability. It's his ability in the pass game. It's the fact that Jalen trusts him. It's the fact that over the middle of the field, we would have seen some more targets there, or a target, right? With just some more throwing over the middle field. And then, oh, by the way, you would have gotten the blocking in both the pass game and the run game that we did not see. And it's unfortunate. But again, Eagles got the win at the end of the day. So they were able to survive it. But yeah, I'm with you. They need maybe a little bit of a better answer if they're going to keep putting him out there on the field, or don't, I don't know, just don't have him lined up to block those. Tyler with the 20 bomb. Appreciate that. The questions on offense by the media is overshadowing how good the defense has played, maybe except of a certain CB2. Go Birds. Also, by the way, AJ not getting traded, $160 million dead cap over the next 2 years. Eagles ain't eating that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm not even going to entertain any AJ Brown trade talk. That was just
Yeah.
They needed something to talk about. It was a boring kind of day during the week, and hey, let's pretend that AJ Brown was somewhat available somehow. That's obviously not going to happen. But I mean, one of my actual positive takeaways. I know I kind of went on the rant about Grant Calcaterra as a negative, but Adoree Jackson kind of had a bounce back game, and I know it was against. I mean, there's a significant difference between CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens versus Tyquan Thornton and Hollywood Brown, right? I mean, I get
a little
it.
bit,
but at the same time, both those players have some good deep speed. That he was tested one-on-one in coverage against them with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball up, and he only allowed 3 receptions on 5 targets for 26 yards. So, I mean, was it a flawless performance? No, because he had that missed tackle on Hollywood Brown. Like you want to see him clean it up, especially like being a veteran like he is. But even Vic Fangio said it was like a step in the right direction. He still has room for improvement, but like I mentioned before the season started, you don't need him to be an elite shutdown corner, right? You just need him to kind of hold guys in check, not give up 5 catches for 100 yards in a game. Like just be a solid player with a good ceiling, a relatively high floor, and I think that'll be perfectly fine at CB2.
There you go. There's one of the pass breakups showing a couple of those, and the other target for Adoree Jackson making a few plays. Yeah, I said this during the stream as well. Yeah, I'm not, I was calling for him to not be the guy after week 1. He did much better. And you know what? If he ends up getting the job, I said this too. If he plays to that level as he did in week 2, we don't need him to be locked down. It would be fantastic if he was, but we don't need him to be locked down with this defense and the way that it is because, I mean, my gosh, you got Drew Mukuba, who, I mean, you can tell he was feeling himself a little bit after the game to be a rookie and saying, like, I appreciate the confidence, but it's why I included it in the last video to start the show, because when you're a rookie and you're like, I'm getting better, but once I feel like, or once I get really confident, look out, this is going to be scary. You're like, all right. He's not wrong necessarily because he's got a knack for the football and he's had those turnovers. You saw it in the preseason. Drew Mukuba, a few people have mentioned this, but I feel like the safety rumor speculation, like, Justin Simmons, or, insert whoever else, but mainly Justin Simmons, is kind of died down. And after this last performance from Adoree Jackson, not near as much, and understandably so. We'll see against the Rams because, my gosh, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams present certainly a challenge, so that'll be an interesting test. But if they can hold up there, then, I feel like for the remainder of the year, you'd probably be saying, okay, hey, look, this is this defense that has a chance, legit shot to be another number 1 defense. And a major reason why, once again, would be the fact that Howie Roseman has hit on draft picks that are really producing well because Drew Mukuba is continuing to get better, as we've seen. It's only 2 weeks, but continuing to get better. And I know this is crazy, but Vic Fangio talked in the press conference today, but this first part's not crazy. He just gushes every time he talks about Jihaad Campbell. Like, that is clearly his favorite pick person maybe on this defense. He loves the linebacker position, but he's just like, he's just so proud of him, and it's great to see. But we're only 2 weeks in, and it's like Jihaad Campbell is just a lot. Like, I don't even think about it. Like, I just see them on the field together, Zack, Baun, and Jihaad Campbell, and I'm like, yep, linebacker's good. There's no, like, they may make some mistakes, sure, they have, but like overall, in general, I'm like, linebacker's solid, man. They're going to be fine, and it's just, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you talk about Drew Mukuba's confidence and then kind of like personality showing. Like, Jihaad Campbell is very comfortable already too. I mean, the cameras caught him kind of heckling Saquon Barkley, I believe, calling him by his middle name, like middle of a press conference there, like at his locker. Like, these guys are comfortable and they're confident, and that's exactly what you want. and like especially defensive players as rookies, they need to be confident because they're thrust into these starting jobs on arguably the best defense in the NFL. Like you
Hmm.
need to have that confidence and feel like you belong. So it's really encouraging to see them kind of. Jihaad Campbell in week 1 had that dominant performance. Now Drew Mukuba in week 2 had a even better performance, like statistically. So I'm really excited to see like what those two can be moving forward. But like you mentioned, the Rams is going to be a huge test for them because I mean the two receivers that you mentioned and just Matthew Stafford as well, like the way he kind of can get rid of the ball so quickly, find those holes, and then use his eyes to just with the no look throws and the weird arm angles, like some of the stuff he does, especially even at his age, is still just insane. So it's going to be a huge test for Mukuba, Adoree Jackson, Jihaad Campbell, all of these guys.
Scuba Mukuba, as a lot of people are saying on that one. Also, Mukuba Matata. I've seen that one as well. Um, the nicknames are
The
always
Bona
the
household
greatest.
is a big Lion King household, so my wife would probably appreciate
Okay,
that
see,
nickname.
that one works out. Yes. My girls as well. Although I'm sure they have no earthly idea what I'm talking about. They're like, why are you saying it that way? That's not how you pronounce it. But yes, I'm hyped for him. It's great to see, as we talk about, because Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, they started making plays early in the season. Obviously, it took Coop a little bit longer because the injury and him slowly getting acclimated. But just seeing them make some plays, kind of getting onto the stage, so to speak, or introducing themselves to the NFL, and it does. It gets them kind of relaxed, calmer, understanding the defense, and they're only going to get better as the season goes along. You mentioned Jordan Davis as well. Jalen Carter, his first game, 2 games in, but his first game, getting action out there. I thought it was interesting that Fangio said in the press conference today that basically admitting Jalen Carter's not in the best of shape yet. He's in decent shape, but he can get in better shape. He obviously had the shoulder injury at training camp, but watching it, I thought Jalen Carter played well. The idea that Jalen Carter can be better, though, it certainly seems to reason, but it's also, you look at like, okay, Jalen Carter's going to get the double teams regardless. But if he has another gear that he can eventually get to, whether that's in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever, but a different gear, and the way that Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo are playing, like, I'm telling you what, like, I know that we talked about this back when our training camp happened, but some of those clips of Jordan Davis, like, that's not JD. That is different defensive tackle out there. Like, he the run stopping element to me was always like, okay, look, he's got the size, he's got the strength. Sometimes it's the pad level. Sure, he could be better at, but like that wasn't as much of a stretch. It was, kind of assumed. But the pass rushing element, the pressures that he's getting on some of the quarterbacks these times now, I'm like, if he does this season, it's just totally unfair. And he's done it through 2 weeks. So nothing tells me from what I've seen so far that he can't keep this up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's starting to look like exactly the player that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of college, right? Where it was just like, sure, his floor can be like a really good run stopping nose tackle, but he has that freakish athleticism and size to where he can impact the passing lanes with his arms. He had 2 pass breakups against the Chiefs, or he could obviously get to the quarterback as well too, and like either break up like running plays before they even get happening, or obviously get to Patrick Mahomes like he did. So it's really encouraging to see that performance, especially after playing so many snaps in week 1. And I mean, if you watch the All 22, you could just see his impact against the running game where they're trying to get him with 2 guys and he's just going along with it to the side, staying firm, like not giving up any movement. Where last week it felt like, especially Moro Ojomo, he was getting blown off the ball on a lot of those runs by the Cowboys. And that was kind of concerning, but he had a much better performance this week. And Jalen Carter obviously plays into that as well because he takes that attention away and kind of gets some double teams himself. But he definitely did at times. It looked like he was a little sluggish. Like there was one play in particular, I think Johnny Page had shared it where, or maybe Shane Haffel was one of them, where he was supposed to like crash and kind of take out 2 of the offensive linemen, and then the edge was looping around him, but he just barely moved. Like he was so slow. So
Yeah.
I mean, after not playing in week 1, and then obviously like this is kind of his first action because he didn't play in the preseason. So I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, if it continues and he looks like this later on, that'll be concerning. But it was also cool to kind of see him be moved around, right? We saw him play on the edge, like in a stand-up edge rusher role, and he actually beat the left tackle. It almost got
That
to
was
Patrick
pretty.
Mahomes. So that was really cool because like that was one of the questions coming into this year was like, are they finally going to move Jalen Carter around? Because it felt like he was just always over that right guard, right? Like pretty much all the time, never really switched out of that. But now he was like outside over the left tackle. It's like, wait a second, standing up too. I'm like, wait, is that 98? That's Jalen Carter. And
I'm telling
sure
you.
enough, he won. It was pretty crazy.
Play him like a Chris Jones. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I saw that, and I was thinking like, okay, Josh Simmons, right? Because it's a rookie too. So if you get a matchup like that, and the fact they've shown it already, I'm like, yeah, it's just the extra element that Vic Fangio can throw in now, and as Jalen Carter gets in better shape, I mean, it's just unfair because he's got the power moves, he's got the speed moves, and to be able to line up basically all over the line of scrimmage, it totally changes the game. We haven't even mentioned Zadarius Smith, or very briefly, I guess we did mention, but getting into even more so of the Zadarius Smith factor of he's also shown that he can play with that physicality, but you can kind of move him around. There was an element or an instance in the game where he was lined up on the edge, and then I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Jihaad Campbell that came down. And we've seen Fangio use that quite a bit before, but to have a guy with the size and physicality of Zadarius Smith move in line and basically kind of be lined up over that, I guess kind of in between the guard and the tackle, because he even moved in further, and then you have Jihaad Campbell outside of him. It's athletes everywhere to begin with, but there's a reason why, and the Chiefs don't have a good running game. So, we can, yes, throw out a caveat there, but I think that you'll continue to see this run defense be better. I was surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised. Okay, Dallas got more of a push than we expected, but it's shoring things up. They're going to continue to get better. And the way that they can move and play this defense, it's got to be a nightmare for offensive coordinators, because these guys are not lined up and hey, we can just expect, Jalen Carter will be in the middle and they'll have no, they're going to be all over the place. Jihaad Campbell crashing down to the line, switch it with Zack Baun. You never know who's coming. Maybe you send a blitz with Drew Mukuba. It's fun to be an Eagles fan, especially with the defensive side of the football right now.
Yeah, the Eagles' defensive front, I mean, people might remember this clip, but there was that viral moment where the Spurs, I believe it was one of the finals games, they brought in Kawhi Leonard, and LeBron James looks over to see who was checking into the game. He was like, oh, damn, he's coming back into the game. That's kind of what I think about now when these offensive tackles and tight ends have to deal with going against Nolan Smith all game, where he's just running into these guys pulling on blocks and just taking them out. He did it to Noah Gray, I believe, against the Chiefs, and you're used to that force, and then you think, oh, he's going to come out, you're going to get a breather. Then you got Zadarius Smith coming in, who's even bigger, even stronger. Now you got to deal with that guy. And then with Zack Baun at linebacker, you kind of think all right, they had that one guy who can come down on the edge, and he can set the edge, he can rush the passer, he can do different things. And now it's damn it, they have Jihaad Campbell too. Come on, this is not fair.
Good luck.
But now you're seeing Vic Fangio kind of get more creative, where he didn't really blitz a lot last year. And granted, I think he made that adjustment because there was always that lane for Patrick Mahomes to escape through when they only sent the 4 rushers, that if you bring 5 or 6, now it kind of closes those lanes, condenses everything. He has no way to go. So I think it helped in that regard, and that's why they kind of blitzed at a higher clip than they normally do. But regardless, just the way that this defense can come at you in waves is really tough for opposing offenses.
I love seeing it, man. I remember it made me think back to, I think right around Thanksgiving last year, if I'm not mistaken, we did a recording, and you had been saying, I think you'd been saying before that, but I remember distinctly right around the holidays with Thanksgiving of you saying that this defense is better than the I guess the 23 defense, or the 22-23, the Super Bowl, season with the 70 sacks and whatnot, because it's hey, they're not putting up the stats, but just look, the eye test, watch what they're doing, the ability they have to shut down teams, obviously the points that they had not allowed for, so many weeks in a row. But you said this way back during the offseason and continue to kind of reiterate the ceiling, the potential for this squad. Now there's a crazy long season to go, so who knows where this thing plays out, but the potential, if they play up to their ability, is surpassing what last season had. And if that's the case, optimism here, glass half full, the offense will get things picked up, will get things together, but they don't have to be an offense that scores 30-plus points per game for you to win, because even so far, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 20 points was the threshold for forever, going back to last year. I mean, I don't know how many games it's been in a row that the Eagles have not allowed. I mean, I know the playoff games, but you kind of taking the metrics for the regular season, had not allowed 20 points. I mean, besides you had the Rams game in the playoffs, I know, but that's one of those. And then, the Commanders, which was kind of a ridiculous blowout and already over, but meaningful games, not garbage points or whatnot, or just other scores there. I mean, you go back, it was just a never-ending theme of okay, well, you can go into this game automatically assuming that the Eagles defense is not going to allow more than 20 points. And if that's the case, I get it. But look, the Eagles had a terrible, terrible offensive game. and they still ended up scoring 20 points. It was terrible. Like, that's the almost worst case scenario offensively, and they still score 20 points.
Yeah, and I think I did the math correctly. This is another thing that people kind of completely disregard, I guess, because of the players that they were missing or whatever. But Patrick Mahomes at home in his career, including both the regular season and the playoffs, is 58-14. That's including the loss to the Eagles. So, I mean, you can say whatever you want, how it looked, whatever. That's a guy that he basically never loses at home. I mean, that's an insane winning percentage. And I mean, probably like 80% or even more, like whatever the math is. I'm terrible at math, but somewhere around there. Like,
Yeah.
That's an impressive win, no matter how you want to put it. And if you're going to tell me that the Eagles are going to, what are they averaging, like 22 points per game right now through 2 weeks? If they can do that for the entire season and basically never turn the ball over, I'll take their chances 99.9% of the time, right? I think like I'll take those odds every day of the week. So, I mean, we'll see, like you said, if it's sustainable or whatever, or if the offense should improve. Like, this is basically hopefully the lowest of the lows, like a 200 and whatever total yards of offense is rough, but they still won against the team that they literally played in the Super Bowl last year. Like, I know they're missing a couple players, but that defense is pretty healthy for the most part. Patrick Mahomes was still playing. Like, I feel like people are just so worried about such minute things like, oh, too many condensed formations, too much 2x2, too many slant routes. Like, they won. So we'll see what happens 2-3 months from now, and stop being so worried about 2023. It's in the past. Let's give them a chance.
Yeah. And I understand it. There's some caution. There's some areas out there. By the way, I'll get to some of these super chats too. I've not forgotten about you, so appreciate you guys. Brandon with a 5. Spent the whole training camp planning on having Dallas, Johnny, and BVS in the blocking game. It's okay to give them a few weeks to adjust to injuries. That's also a 100% fair point there, because again, as we're talking about, like, those are huge contributing factors there. Johnny Wilson was a mismatch. Say what you will, because for the longest time he wasn't really doing anything in the passing game. He started to get things together, and as a blocker, it's like, forget about it. He was like another tight end, and not like a Grant Calcaterra. It's like having a Dallas Goedert tight end out there, to block. So he would be a much better option. Fair point about Dallas Goedert being injured. Ben Van Serman also, yes. I love that. Those are 3 very crucial and I think very underrated losses for the Eagles when it comes to a team that we know will be a run-first team that needs to have some blocking. They're going to figure things out with other guys, but yeah, I think sometimes that one gets overlooked and forgotten about. Bald Eagle with the 2. People need to realize this is the offense's preseason. I get, in the instance, obviously, that they sat, I suppose. We're still giving them time. I do appreciate what Sirianni said, and hey, everybody gets probably a little bit more of a pass when you've won a Super Bowl. If they hadn't, sure, maybe you don't give more leniency. You say, well, do they deserve a little bit of a benefit of the doubt? But they've won a Super Bowl, and kudos to all the guys, all the coaches. So yeah, I think that they'll get things figured out. But I did appreciate Sirianni even saying, like, look, I told the guys as we started this season, it's find ways to win and get better in the process of it. Like, it's not going to look pretty. No one is hitting their strides. No one is firing on all cylinders in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, that's just not happening. If you can get wins in the league, in the NFL, if you just get wins any way possible through the first couple weeks, and then you start to find your identity, you're good to go. And that's what they're doing right now. So yeah, I'm not worried.
And I think one of the things that kind of gets lost in this too, right, is where, because we've seen these struggles, these low passing yardage games under Brian Johnson, under Kellen Moore, and now under Kevin Patullo. Like, at a certain point, Jalen Hurts himself has said the offense is going to look how Jalen Hurts wants it to look, but we're going to win. Like, I'm not saying to blame him, but I think part of the way they operate the way that they do is because Jalen Hurts prefers that as well. And I know it's easy to kind of just say, like, it's Kevin Patullo's fault, because when anything goes wrong, that's just like the low-bearing fruit. It's the easy guy to blame. He's in a new title, but maybe Jalen Hurts likes to condense formations. He likes the 2x2s. He likes not using a ton of motion because he's close friends with Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning didn't love a ton of motion because you can kind of get your defined reads pre-snap. You don't have to you don't shift guys around, get them too close, whatever. Like, there's different reasons that these players like what they like. So I think he kind of deserves some of the blame, if you want to say. Like I said, I don't think there's a reason to put any blame out there, but I don't think it's specifically all on Kevin Patullo. And obviously, Nick Sirianni plays a factor as well. So I don't think it's as easy as saying, like, it's Kevin Patullo's fault. He's kind of operating with, like, one hand behind his back, and the other hand is, like, half of Nick Sirianni's arm and half of Jalen Hurts' arm. Like, it's kind of a conjoined effort, and he's just the easy target.
Right. Yes, because they're definitely all a part of it too. So, and I think that you could see the confidence in Jalen, even right. I mean, they all know that the offense is not where it needs to be. They want it to be, by the end of the season, where they'd hope and everything else. But there's still, you can see. I mean, honestly, you could see there's not as much frustration. There's like, we've been here before. Like, I don't know of a better way to describe it, but like, just listen and watch Lane Johnson talking to the media, Saquon Barkley talking to the media. I understand AJ is frustrated, but he's even still been, disregarding, not taking any bait from questions or, like, oh, is he upset or concerned here? It's like they understand this is the way that things are gonna go, and it may take a little bit of extra time, but they know what it takes to also win games and to be a Super Bowl champion. So at the end of the day, they've got wins. As Terrence here with a 5 says, 2 more wins. These are the prove-it games incoming, mostly Tampa. So, yes, the Rams we got incoming, and then also the Bucs after that. If they can win both those, then you got the Broncos game, then you got the Giants game, the Vikings game, the Giants game. No game is easy, but I'm just saying, like, you get these first 4 out of the way. As fans, we can look ahead. The team, we want them to be, tunnel vision, laser focused, not look ahead. As fans, we can certainly do this. It's hard not to get a little optimistic, to watch that or to see the schedule and then go, man, if they start 4-0, look out now. I don't even, regardless of how it looks, because one more thing, and I know we kind of beat this dead horse, but like one more thing I would say of the slow starts, the offense, yes, it needs to be better. And I saw a few people be like, yeah, but this happened, in 23, and we were winning games, but it didn't look great, and then we just got destroyed by the 49ers and, basically exposed, right? And then the rest was history. You said this at the beginning, but I'll just reiterate it as well. The defense is a very good defense. It is not a Sean Desai, Matt Patricia defense. That is you cannot overstate the importance of and the difference of that. Where the Niners walked into Philly and pushed us around and got whatever they wanted, and the offense was not good. Even if the offense is struggling, even if the offense is taking time and they're just kind of like, yeah, they're just like middle of the road. They're not really that great, even with all the weapons they have. And I totally understand you're within your means. It makes sense to say that is not where they should be. They're not reaching their full potential to be a middle of the road offense. I get that. That's true. But with this defense, that's more than enough to win those games. That's more than enough to not get pushed around because they are the team. I mean, we know it. We see it every single week. But watch the defense. They are the ones dictating terms. They are the ones that are pushing teams around. It will not happen because of Vic Fangio's defense and the squad there. So it's different than 23. There's maybe some similarities that people are seeing and drawing the comparisons and everything else. But again, we're 2 weeks into it. So we're giving a little bit of time, staying patient. Rip Charlie with the 2, though. How much of this playbook scheme is Kevin's input? I mean, nobody could truly answer that or know. Sirianni has a hand in everything. Who knows? It's kind of been a combination, Jalen Hurts. Kevin's been here for a while. They said that they tried to keep a lot of the same verbiage from Kellen Moore. There are some things that are the same, but they've changed others. So it's a total guess at this point, but they're also trying to figure out what works, set up the tendencies as we were talking about earlier. So you got time. 10 from Philly Boy. Could this vanilla offense this early in the season be part of the plan, or am I being delusional? It kind of goes back to what you were saying with the setting it up in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, and I got that once again from Fran Duffy, PHLY. He had put out a really good article where he spoke to a coach. He didn't say who, but they pretty much said that they like when teams think that they're going to do a certain thing because they're in a specific like pre-snap look. So it could be the Kellen Moore talked about it in the coaching clinic that you highlighted multiple times when he was here, that you got to like play that long game where you might only run out of this formation for 15 weeks. And then in week 16, when you're playing for a playoff spot and like the highest of leverage moments, now you run a play action out of it, and now you're passing out of that look, or you're running out of you got to keep these teams on their toes and play that long game. So like I said, I wouldn't panic too early. At this time last year, even in the middle of the season last year, people were like, there's no way you can win with this passing offense. It's 2023 all over again. But like you said, the defense just raises the floor so much more to where the offense really doesn't have to do that much to win a game.
Because if they're And John here says, yes, the verbiage should be run it. That not opposed to that. It's a run first team. You get the guys a little healthier. I think that there's an element of it of Landon Dickerson. He was not listed on the injury report with a knee, but there's got to be a little bit of some lingering. He had the back injury, so a combination of the back and the knee injury. Get a little bit healthier. Chris Jones is going to beat a lot of different guys, but Landon Dickerson does not look 100% based on how many times he was getting beat by Chris Jones and kind of embarrassed, quite honestly. So he'll be better. The offensive line will be better. The run game is going to get going even more efficient, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Ultimately, if you're running the football, though, and you talk about time of possession and everything else, as good as this defense is, it's fewer possessions. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you're running the football, you're taking time off the clock, there's fewer possessions. Now, yes, there's fewer possessions for the offense, yeah, but there's also fewer possessions for the opposing offense. And this defense, I mean, like you said, Anthony, if they go through and they don't turn the football over, I'll take my bet against any team. I don't care. Yeah. You tell me no turnovers the entire game and field position battle, we're going to win because Braden Mann has a cannon of a leg and he's going to pin you inside the 20. Like, I'll take my chances against any single team in the league to just say, all right, let's see, can you score 20? Because that feels like enough. If you hold them under 20, even with the offense, if they're not firing, we just saw them put up 20 points with 216 total yards. And by the way, we got to give a huge shout out to Jake Elliott because he's back to Jake the Make. And that's the other element of the kicking game and special teams that we can rely on. So we'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to 2023, like you had multiple position coaches that basically can't find a job in the NFL now that were coaching key roles for the Eagles. And obviously they made a change at defense coordinator in the middle. This is a completely different situation on the defensive side of the ball. I know the offensive side of the ball, they're like, oh, it's a stale offense. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's not the same team. For the millionth time this stream, just chill.
We're getting a lot of relax. IBH, Jim with a 5 says, gentlemen, thank you for bringing sanity to the discussion. I can't believe people are hitting the panic button yet, or people are hitting the panic button. We're 2-0. People need to calm down. I don't know. I feel like there's probably, I could be wrong, but I feel like over 50% are still like, we're okay. I don't know to what level of and I asked this question of on a scale of 1 to 10, where's the panic for the offense or where's the panic for the passing game? 10 being an absolute freak out. We're going to have a season like 2023 and just fall off a cliff at some point. 1, don't even care. I feel like more people than none are still at a point where it's we'll figure this thing out. But it still amazes me the amount of comments that I've seen of just wait. I'm warning you now. Get ready. It's going to be a long season. It's going to be one where we lose a lot of games and the offense is going to kill us and all this other stuff, right? The repeat from 23. We'll see. At the end of the day, we will see. But for all those reasons, as we keep mentioning, Anthony with a 2. I did not see a comment. We appreciate the support though. Thank you for that. Tyler with 2 more. Forgot to say this. Yes, Z Smith is a demon. He is a beast to have been on the couch. Not really. I mean, that's kind of like the given, right? Because you're like, oh, well, he hasn't been playing. He knows. He's 33 years old. It's a good number, by the way. But 33 years old, and he knows how to prepare. He knew what was happening. He had conversations. He even admitted it, but had conversation with the Eagles for a long time and thought he might be signing before that. So he had been in shape, knew where he needed to be, was ready to go, and I'm sure wanted to prove a point as well because he's got those multipliers in his contract, the extra incentives and everything else. So you try to get as much as possible, as he should.
Yeah, I mean, they told him that they wanted him to play that Brandon Graham role, right? And he kind of played it to a T in that debut game. So, I mean, if he could just keep doing that, playing those 15 to 20 snaps, setting the edge, getting a couple TFLs or a sack, that's the perfect role for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I think he can. I mean, if he plays the way he did in his first outing, then we're in for some good defensive line play. We'll say that. Iron Pen with a 5. Eagles defense 8th in passing and 21st in rushing so far. Yeah, I'm not too concerned. I mean, 2 games in, stat totals, yardage, and whatnot doesn't really bother me. Again, same instance of go to week 6, 7, 8. They played much better in week 2 than they did week 1. I would say give it some more time. Eagle 1, Matt with a 10 bomb says 10 to see Chris Jones cry like a baby.
I mean, that comeback from Jalen Hurts was the best, right? I
it's
love
so good.
Even the people that hate Jalen Hurts were like, damn, that was good. Like they had to give him his credit.
Oh yeah, yeah. The number of people that even Cowboys fans, the number of people that came up to me and they're like, like, yeah, you see that comment at the end? He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I don't know what Chris Jones is doing there. It's like, bro, you lost the game.
Respond. Well, Jalen Hurts is the last person you want to mention individual stats to.
Oh my
gosh, does not care. He just you win or you lose. That's it.
Yeah. That's totally true. Because it's like winning is the only thing that matters. And for Chris Jones to be like, bro, you had less than 100 passing yards. You lost. You lost the game. Although the funny thing, and I did a short about this that probably be tomorrow that'll also go up. I think I have it. I'm sure I can find it here. Just a split second for people to also see this. I can mention it, but visuals always help this. Let's see. Do they still have it up? They do. Okay. It says something about the state of a team and where they're at psychologically, successful wise. Everything's, let's just say, not in the best way for Kansas City at this point. But when the Chiefs, after the game, mind you, post, and I know there's like PR stuff and everything else, but like some things are worth posting. Some things are kind of like, really? You just lost. This is like a double down effect of what Chris Jones did. So Kansas City Chiefs on their social account say, our defense held the Eagles to their lowest offensive output since week 6 of the 2021 season. Cool. Did you win the game? Like it's basically the same thing that Chris Jones was doing. Like, great job. And I know the people like all over social, the comeback is naturally hang the banner, because great, good for you. But like that's one of those such random stat. Like you could just say like our defense played incredibly well, like something for your own self. But when you tag the other team, and they didn't physically like tag, but they put Eagles in there, so you know what you're going to get. Our defense held the Eagles to their lowest offense. Again, good job. Good for you. We didn't put up a great offensive output, but guess what? It was still enough to beat you. And so, yeah, now you guys are 0-2. Like, I don't know. I just got a kick out of that. So
it's like me on a Tuesday morning when my fantasy team lost, and I'm like, man, if I only played one of these other 8 teams, I would have won. Like, I'm just trying to find any type of positivity after a loss. Like,
anything. Yes. They know, but it's like, man, it's so far off the mark. But I thought it was hilarious because again, it goes right in line with what Chris Jones was saying. It's the exact same energy. John with the 5. This time last year we had lost to Atlanta. Just saying, it's true. Let one slip away. A pretty good game up until the last whatever it was, 3 minutes left. Not in a good way. It could be worse. Could be 1-1. We're not. We're 2-0. Could be 0-2. I mean, there's a brief moment where even the Dallas game was a little bit scary, but 2-0. That's all that matters. JR Crit with 5 says, I agree to relax, but this, we're winning, so relax is what the trauma stemmed from in 2023. We were fooled despite people warning us. This was also earlier, so I think we mentioned some of the other elements of the defense that come into play and why it's different from that team. But the same thing applies. I understand. There's some warnings, some areas where sure it needs to be better and it needs to get shored up, but the defense for me is one of those other points. The other thing that I would also point to is like you just got you got guys who've been there before. They've experienced it. They know what it was like when they went through this, right? And then all of a sudden they got met by the Niners and had the season derailed. We're not seeing. Even Jalen Hurts. Like if you go back and look at his press conferences in 2023 with Brian Johnson, like it's crazy the difference now. He has that confidence. He has that belief. He knows what it takes to win and where they need to get to. Now again, Is that him being like overly optimistic? You could argue that, but Jalen Hurts is not one of those guys that's going to come onto the press conference and be like, yeah, we're doing all this. Like, he doesn't give praise to just give praise. He's kind of like a Vic Fangio of sorts. It's like you're going to get the bold on or blunt honest truth, but he's not like he was just very frustrated and very jaded. It almost felt like, and this is back to 2023, after games that we would win, and it was just like, man, like we won, and he was just kind of, not giving off the best vibes. But now you look at it, and it's only 2 games in, but even the 2 games in, we recognize, got to clean things up. But there's a level of, I don't know if it's maturity, I don't know if it's leadership, I don't know if it's a combination of those, but there's also just the confidence in him saying it, Saquon Barkley echoing it really across the entire team. That's why I would say it's still different than those years. They do need to get better. They do need to clean things up, but I think they know how to go forward. I think they know how to find that within the offense, even though things are not firing all cylinders. And they get that, yeah, it may not do that for the first 2 weeks. It's going to get there, and they just got to be patient. They got to continue to work on it, and, we'll be fine. If he'd hit AJ again, we go back to this. If he'd hit AJ on the first play of the game, and then everything else was the same, I know we would still probably come away from it and go, yeah, but they need to have these rests and everything. Sure, but at that point, Jalen Hurts has thrown for 180 yards and a passing touchdown, and Philly 27 points. Like, it's I don't know. It's hindsight 2020, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, just real quick, like I would say 3 big differences between 2023 and this year is, 1, the defense, which we've said a bunch of times, just drastically better position coaches, better coordinator, just a better unit overall. 2, Jalen Hurts isn't near the top of the league in turnovers, right? He hasn't turned the ball over yet. The whole team hasn't turned the ball over yet. That's a drastic difference as well, because that was eventually going to catch up to them, and it obviously did. And then the last thing would kind of be just like, they had so much pressure on them in 2023 because they were coming off losing in the Super Bowl. It felt like they were just trying to overcompensate for everything. Like nothing was good enough. Like they just even when they were winning, it was just like still, like you said, it didn't seem like they were comfortable. Like little weird comments here and there. Like now they can kind of trust the plan from last season where they had plenty of stints like this where the offense didn't look great and they still won it all. So now they have that like calm confidence where they can be like, listen, we did this before. This is nothing. Like just trust the process. I know Sixers fans, sorry if I say that you don't want to hear that, but just trust the process. Like we've been here before. We know what to do. We'll be fine.
That's a very good point. Yeah, especially with the turnovers as well. I can't remember if we mentioned this or not, or I know that I read this earlier, but the last 16 games, Jalen Hurts only has 4 turnovers. So, for someone who for a while, it was brief. It was not very long, but it was maybe over the stint of about a year, if I'm not mistaken, like 17 games or so. There were Carson Wentz comparisons for the turnovers, right? Because it was like, hey, he keeps on doing it, whether it's a fumble or an interception. We get some sort of turnover every single game, and it was one of those knocks. It was hero ball. It was poor decision making, whatever you want to excuse it to, but it was turning over the football. But now you go 16 games, and Jalen Hurts has only turned the football over 4 times. It's a reason why the numbers were, it was something crazy. Like under Nick Sirianni, the Eagles were like 38-4 when they win the turnover battle. It's like, I mean, all things, forget anything else, any other stat, like just win the turnover battle. And you got to, I don't even know, again, I'm terrible at math too, but like a 95% or wherever that is, 90% win percentage. If you're winning the turnover battle, it's a night and day difference. Tao with 5. It's unimaginable that they could get it wrong with all the star players Philly has on the roster. We're only 2 weeks in. They've still won 2 games. A.J. Brown could have had a game where he had 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, and the Eagles won, and I think everybody would go, yeah, it could be better, but it's good. Like I really think that, because then you'd say A.J. Brown had a good game. It's all those other short routes, but he had 1 catch that was for 80 yards and a touchdown, and it's like, all right, hey, we got that. It was kind of crazy though. Regulars watching the channel, of AJ getting 5 catches, because people I think know this because you were sharing this on the past one, but AJ Brown coming off of the 2 or fewer catches the previous game in his career. had always come back with 5 catches, and it was exactly 5 catches. And so that was why after the game I texted you and I was like, that's wild that it was exactly 5 catches again. You would think that it ends up being 6 catches, maybe like one of these times, or even 4 catches, but it was 5 catches exactly. He did hit on the over targets that we were calling there, but exactly off 5 catches.
I mean, I'll take it. I don't know if I didn't place a bet on that. If you even can, just exactly 5, like not under, not over, exactly 5, because I probably would have made myself some money. But I mean, yeah, that is definitely like an odd occurrence. If it does happen again, I will definitely be kind of putting it out there. Listen, if you can find anywhere, bet
just
exactly 5 catches for AJ Brown.
Because it's a given. It seems to for sure happen every single time. It would have been more maybe if he'd caught the or gotten the chance for the opening pass, but we did not see that. All right, really quickly here. I probably need to jump here in a second, but I think that we got a giveaway for people on the live stream, so I can mention this here and then go over very briefly just areas to keep an eye on for some injury updates and things throughout the week. But if you're interested in getting on the giveaway, stay on the live stream. You do have to be present, and then we'll tell you what to comment to be able to get in on this thing. And let me get this actually set up here before I tell you what to comment on this. We've got a card here, courtesy of Anthony DeBona, to give away to you guys. This one is the Lane Johnson autographed. Is that a select?
Yes, it's numbered to 49. So there's only 49 of these. It's a select blue 2024 Lane Johnson autograph.
Okay, there you go. I'm getting it set up here. 1 second. And all right. So now, if you want to be entered into the giveaway, let's see. I think it's capturing the messages. There we go. Okay. If you want to be entered into the giveaway, the key word for you to say is actually I'm curious if people have started. Oh yeah, there's people guessing what it's going to be. I think
I see a couple of guesses.
We're going to go with rigged. You got to comment rigged. RIGGED for.
That's amazing.
In case you're wondering how to spell that one, only one time though. Do it multiple times, it'll kick it out, so you won't get counted, and then it will be rigged against you because you did it to yourself. But there you go. Comment that. You'll be entered one time. We will spin, and somebody on the stream will win it. Don't leave, though, because you have to be present to claim it here on the stream here in, like, a minute or two whenever we spin. So if you leave, you're not present, you don't claim it, we'll spin again for somebody else, and we will be giving away here in a minute or two. But there we go. We got all the rigged comments. I love it.
I love that you made that the word. This is the only positive time that we've seen rigged comments for a giveaway.
We had to at some point. Let's see. Lou said, dang, you said it late. Did I say it? Oh, did I say it late after? Oh, maybe somebody already had already commented rigged before I said what that word was. So, okay. Well, it's there now. So people of others, a few people say coffee machine. That's also fair. The coffee machine being broken, it helped. Green Wingman with a 10. The only thing to worry about is the morale with the wide receivers. It's one thing to say the right thing, but personally and contractually, these guys are looking for their numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair because AJ Brown said going into the season, like, he wants to prove that he's one of the best, like, have some of the best numbers in the league. But at the same time, they're already both kind of in that top 10, top 15 as far as, like, highest paid wide receivers in the NFL. So I'm not aware of any, like, huge incentives in their contract. I think it's all pretty, like, straightforward. So I don't think there's any, like, kind of performance-based things that they have to worry about in that regard. But yeah, I mean, you have to worry about that. But at the same time, like I said, they went through this last season where it was, and Nick Sirianni said it during before the season in the meeting that I posted the clip of, where he said, listen, AJ, 1 week you're going to have 2 catches. Devontae, 1 week you're going to have 2 catches. Like, you have to handle that the same way you handled it last season, which is the season they won the Super Bowl, because that helped us kind of win it all. Like, having that focus, maintaining that focus, contributing as a blocker or just a decoy, whatever. So they've done it before. Obviously it sucks. You don't want that to happen, but they seem to have their minds, like, in the right place.
Yeah, I think so. They're and they're going to have better numbers. Like, again, we've said that a million times, but confident in that they're going to be able to turn things around. Don't trade them. It's funny, the number of people that have asked, like, hey, should I trade AJ Brown? Should I try to get what I can for him? Is this going to be a down year? Everything. Look, maybe I'm wrong, and it ends up being where like AJ's just a wide receiver 15 or 20 in the league, and he's not putting up any numbers that's worth anything where you drafted him. But I would still hold to that. I'll be surprised now. Assuming he stays healthy, of course, because that always changes for any player out there in fantasy. But I still would be very surprised if he does not finish in the top 5 for receivers. Having even what he's done so far, like he's an insane talent. We've seen it every single year. There's usually an instance throughout the season where all of a sudden it's like, man, AJ is a different level, right? Like it's just like every single game he's getting himself a touchdown and he's having 100 yards. So I'm still expecting that. The offense is getting its groove. They know what they have in AJ Brown. Same thing for Smitty, but absolutely for sure AJ Brown. They know what they have in him, and it's just a matter of time. Maybe it's this week. Maybe the Rams are what he needs. I highly doubt that they're going to go. I saw some comments of this earlier as well. Highly doubt that they're going to decide to put Emmanuel Forbes out there for AJ Brown. That's just like asking for it. You're just like, oh, hey, what's up, man? I remember you.
Emmanuel Forbes is going to have nightmares about that matchup going into that game for sure.
If we see Emmanuel Forbes come onto the field in the first half, you're like, oh, there he is. You'd be like, live bet it. Live bet it right then and there. Just put the house on AJ Brown to have 2 touchdowns, 150 plus yards. Just go all in. Yes, Tony, I did see the Kevin Patullo press conference today. I don't know if there's a specific to that, but yes, I did see his press conference. Okay, injuries real quick before I spin, and then again, stay here. You got to be present to win this thing, so don't leave. Rams out corner, because speaking of Emmanuel Forbes and where that goes, Rams cornerback Akhello Witherspoon is out on the IR, broken clavicle. So Emmanuel Forbes is one of the backups. The Rams signed a cornerback, I think, today. If I'm not mistaken, I think they did. But Sean McVay was asked whether, like, who would it be for filling that void. He said that they would maybe look to get some outside help. Who knows if that means that they're going to play a guy there. They play a backup in an instance. Again, Emmanuel Forbes is one of the backups. Highly doubt that he's the guy that actually gets inserted there, but it's still an opportunity because a guy like Akhello Witherspoon is not going to play. So maybe you take advantage, although the Rams defense, as we know and have seen, has been susceptible to Saquon Barkley long runs.
Yeah, I mean, this could be another game where, like, Jalen Hurts doesn't have a ton of passing yards, but because the running game is so good, right? Like, where Saquon Barkley finally has that game where, especially if Dallas Goedert returns and Will Shipley returns, I feel like you would see more of what we saw in that first half against Dallas before the weather delay. Like, they were able to move the ball on the ground. Like, they were having a pretty good game. And I mean, they had some explosive plays with the Will Shipley screen or swing pass, whatever it was, like the little passes of Dallas Goedert across the middle. You can kind of like make your way down the field that way. And the Rams might be selling out to stop the run this time around, kind of like the Chiefs did, where they're just going to send the house with the blitz, or they're going to like be a little bit more creative with their defensive fronts. And the Eagles have to be ready to capitalize on that through the air. So it's going to be really fun to kind of watch that chess match.
There we go. And we will have more breakdowns for you, obviously, previews and everything else too before the game. So no worries on that one. The Saturday game preview video, as we normally do. All right, I think it's time to spin. We've got all the comments here. Don't leave, as I said. You got to be present to win this one, but we will pick the winner now and see who this goes to, if it'll actually allow me to do that. Yeah, there we go. And it is Let's Talk. It's an interesting username, but Let's Talk is the winner, assuming that they're still here. Let's Talk. Comment back in the comment section. Please be here, hopefully. If Let's Talk's not here, we're going to spin it again. So don't leave if that's not you and you've not won. But Let's Talk. Congratulations. I need to see your comment back here. Say it's me or I'm here, or just anything. Something in the comment section to make sure that you're still present. Congratulations. And now I knew that there would be more rate comments, but see, the problem is, I don't know. Are you trying to enter into the giveaway, or are you legit think that there's a lot more of those? Great. We still have not seen Let's Talk though. There we go.
Well,
there's Let's Talk. Yep. Congratulations. Everybody else hates you, but you have won the signed Lane Johnson You said number 49, or there's 49 of those?
It's numbered at 49, yeah.
Number 49. Okay. There you go. Congratulations, you've won. Feel free to email me at thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com or DM me on one of the socials, or Anthony DeBona will be the one shipping out, of course. So if you want to DM Anthony, you're probably following him on Twitter or X if you're on there, but if not, at DeBona NFL, and we will get it shipped out to you. So just got to verify your information and shipping, but good on you. Congrats. You got that. Tons of other giveaways. Shout out to Anthony for this giveaway, of course, but tons of other giveaways planned and upcoming. Stay tuned for those. Appreciate you guys again. We passed 139,000 subscribers, which is crazy, as always, but getting up there towards 140. Stop. You guys are the best. Y'all make it possible. All right, last thing as we end on before we wrap up here for everybody else. But Eagles injuries, we won't get the official update until probably tomorrow. Designations maybe or won't even be till after that. But at least limited practice, that sort of thing. Any specific players? I guess you meant Dallas Goedert, Will Shipley. Any others that you're keeping an eye on from Sunday's action and maybe being banged up?
Outside of those two, it seems like Jordan Davis was kind of just dealing with cramps. I think I saw somebody comment like any update with him. And the other two I would watch for are both receivers, Devontae Smith and Jihaad, because Devontae Smith kind of took that fall. He did stay in the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has like a limited practice with a back injury or something like that. They want to give him kind of a rest day. And with Jihaad, I don't remember him kind of suffering any injuries, but it was kind of weird that he had a little bit of a dip in his snap total.
Mm-hmm.
And then Darius Cooper and John Mechie both played like significantly more than they did in week 1. So I wonder if maybe he's dealing with something, so I'll keep my eyes on that as well.
Will be interesting to see. It's total speculation. Who knows? But Nick Sirianni was under the weather, so maybe a sickness perhaps going around that was just like Jihaad not able
to like
play.
5 players with an illness.
Man, we don't want that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody stay healthy. Don't be getting sick. But I think everybody's dealt with that here or there. Last year was crazy, so we don't want that. But yes, stay tuned. Keep you guys posted. Any other updates? I'm curious, Jalen Carter, he kept holding his wrist during the game, but he played through it. So, maybe something on that element. But we'll let you guys know. As always, appreciate it. Make sure to follow Anthony at DeBona NFL. If you're not, all the updates there. ThePhillySpecialShow.com. Plenty of articles, tons of other stuff coming. Other giveaways. Like and subscribe. And we'll keep you guys posted. More content to come. As always, go Birds.